Hello,
Hi, my name is Anna,
I'm also Anna.
and today we're going to talk about understanding of cultural, social, and spiritual capital based on our stories.
Imagine a world where wealth isn't just about money or material things. Instead, it's about the deeper resources that we carry inside us and the connections that we build with others. The wealth I'm talking about today isn't measured in dollars, but in something far more profound: cultural, social, and spiritual capitals.
That is so true. I started thinking about the capitals when I just moved here to the US because moving to a new country, suddenly you started speaking a new language, you're surrounded by different people. Everything felt so unfamiliar. Languages, traditions, and the way I perceive others, the way I was perceived changed a lot, right? So, like, this is the international experience. And I had to rely on kind of wealth, not financial wealth, but on kind of wealth that I carry inside in order to navigate these challenges. And it wasn't about financial resources at all. It was more about the knowledge I carried, and it was about the inner strength and the relationship I built.
Right. We often hear about social and cultural capital, the networks we build, the traditions and values that we hold. But there is one type of capital that doesn't get as much attention, and yet it might be just the most transformative form of capital.
Which one? What do you think? Three, two, one. Spiritual capital.
Right. So let's take a deep dive into these three forms of capital and explore why spiritual capital deserves the spotlight.
But before going more into details with spiritual capital, we will start with cultural capital. So, what is cultural capital? Cultural capital refers to the knowledge, skills, education, and cultural experiences and background that we have that accumulated to us throughout our lives. And it is the way that we are shaped, our stories, our languages, arts, values that we have in our society. From the way we speak to the way we pursue ourselves, to the way we dress, to the way we have like different tastes in food or in art, right? Or
Yeah.
like how we dress so differently, how we interact with others and how we perceive others and how we perceive the world, even how we make decisions.
Right, this is so true. I have experienced how cultural capital can open doors for you. When I was awarded a Fulbright scholarship, I wasn't just given a chance to study abroad. I was bringing with me a set of cultural experiences uh, and academic knowledge that shaped the way I'm thinking now. And this also changed the way how I interacted with environment. Another example is my Erasmus Plus experience in Europe, in Portugal. While studying in a different educational system, I realized that my ability to adapt to different academic and cultural norms was an asset. I allowed me to engage in meaningful discussions, to challenge some perspectives I already had, and to contribute to a global dialogue.
This is so true. I started reflecting on my own experience here in the US as a Fulbright scholar and back in China, where I also was an international student. So, cultural capital is important indeed, right?
So true.
Cultural capital gives identity. It informs our creativity and it opens door to all of our opportunities that are shaped in general by social context we're in. Think about the way all of us engage with music, films, food, art, traditions, and these are expressions of our cultural capital. I think we have a really great cultural capital from Russia and now pursuing education abroad. What do you think?
So true. I personally think that cultural capital is not only about like your hobbies, like dancing or drawing, but it's also about your understanding of different literature, different arts, your experience going to, for example, theaters or art exhibitions.
Yeah, and it also is so different in different countries and with different people.
This is true. But what is a social capital then? Social capital is the networks and relationships that we build throughout our life. our family, friends, and colleagues, and the broader community, of course. It's the trust, reciprocity, and support we offer to one another. Social capital is about how we engage with others, how we share resources, and how we collaborate.
Yeah, this is so true. I remember when I just walked into a classroom, starting my career as a teacher. I had the knowledge how to teach, but like I had the cultural capital, but like I didn't have enough social capital. I quickly realized that I need to have strong relationships with my students. So like without social capital, other things do not really matter. And my students weren't just going to listen to me because like I'm in the classroom or because I had a degree. I need to build strong relationship with them. They needed to trust me and they needed to see that I care for them.
As for me, I also experienced the power of social capital while participating in multicultural leadership programs. Recently, I have completed a course in leadership and multicultural teams and project management at UMD. It was a winter course, and we were talking about help to the feminist organization in Burkina Faso in Africa. The experience reinforced how collaborative networks, mentorship, and community building are essential for success, not just individually, but for the collective growth.
This is so true. The stronger our social connections are, and the more we can rely on others, the more we can tell others, whether it's like for emotional support or maybe resources or opportunities, the more social capital we possess. Social capital is often something that helps us to get ahead in life. It's not about only like our hard work or hobbies, but it's about how are we participating in a network, participating with people, interacting, and these opportunities give us a lot of floor to grow, right?
Yes, I agree. Now, after all the words said, what is a spiritual capital then? Let's talk about the third and often less talked about type of capital, spiritual capital. Spiritual capital is the inner strength, the wisdom, and the moral compass that guides us through our lives. It's a deep connection to something larger than ourselves, whether it's a sense of purpose, faith, or the ability to find meaning in everyday life.
I think for me, spiritual capital became real during several challenging periods of my life, especially when I just arrived here. I was away from home, I didn't know anyone, unfamiliar place, a new language, but like sometimes it's not helping. And everything felt so overwhelming. So you're starting your life from scratch. But in that moment, I think I realized something that no amount of like cultural and social capital can help me enough. I need to possess another type of capital, which is spiritual. I need to have like the internal sense of direction inside of me. And I had to build resilience. I had to build peace and find this peace inside myself. And sometimes I just need to remind myself, what am I doing here? And how could I contribute to my own life and to the world around me? That is spiritual capital.
Wow, thank you for sharing your experience, Anna. Share with you my experience that may illustrate the idea of spiritual capital. So I took part in a 14-day writing challenge because I'm working on my PhD dissertation, and it's extremely hard to force yourself to write sometimes, and especially to write every day. So the challenge for me was to write every day for about an hour and to send 300 words to the group. And during this challenge, we had peer accountability activities that allowed me to connect to others and to have some pace in our project and to write to write more regularly. And this was both an academic event, of course, but also it was a space for my personal growth, for helping me to work with my spirituality, work with my attitude towards the whole project.
Yeah, this is so interesting. I guess like this is also helping for you to understand like how all the things are organized. And sometimes I guess like you may experience something like I know you feeling overwhelmed or like you don't think that you will meet expectations. So sometimes spiritual capital is also about like commitment to your goals, right? Or about organizing yourself. Some people think that spirituality and spiritual capital is pretty connected to religious affiliations, but it is not. And it's mostly about how we perceive ourselves, where we see ourselves in this world, in this like universe and galaxy. So it's how we find connection to others beyond just like regular interaction, beyond even like transactional relationships, how we live and how we find the meaning in our lives. And it's sometimes it's our inner self, it's something that keep us going beyond and have an understanding that there is a purpose in this life, and the understanding that we're all created for something. We are much greater than ourselves, and we will have like just greater purpose. So sometimes this is really helping.
So why is spiritual capital important? There is one thing. So spiritual capital is a foundation upon which we build everything else in our lives. Without it, cultural and social capital may feel hollow or disconnected. Spiritual capital gives us resilience in times of uncertainty. It's our spiritual capital that anchors us. It's the reason why some people, in the face of hardship, continue to show compassion, kindness, and hope. It's also what helps us to navigate the complexities of life, guiding us toward ethical decision making, empathy, and a sense of community.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's something like we have a root, like spiritual capital is deeply rooted in us, and everything else is built on spiritual capital. I mentioned it like when I started working back in Russia as a graduate student and as a researcher. When I came here, and I met so many scholars and professionals and teachers who have a lot of articles, who have a lot of books written, amazing experience, resilience, but they struggle. They struggle with their burnout. They were not dissatisfied. A lot of people were having ADHD symptoms or maybe depression. And this was a problem. So, like, how people like who thrive, who seem to be thriving, yeah, having these type of complexities. And I think the main idea is like in order to thrive constantly, in order to have like healthy relationship with yourself, you need to have a strong sense of your mission, of your greater mission, of your understand your inner motivation and a desire to contribute meaningfully to this world, not only to your people. Yeah.
Right, and I may recall some academic articles about the depression and anxiety on campus. We know that especially doctoral students get really anxious during their experience, feel lonely and depressed, and this may be connected to a lot of like rational in their life and less of spiritual experience. Probably because they're disconnected to their families and their communities where they had, access to the spiritual part as well.
Yeah, so it's really important to find something that can give you more access. So it's mostly about yourself, but you need to find something that gives you access to this capital, right?
Think about the leaders you admire, the communities that inspire you. They often exhibit profound spiritual capital. They may not be wealthy in the conventional sense, but they hold an inner wealth that radiates outward, affecting everything they do. Spiritual capital fosters a sense of shared responsibility. When we recognize the interconnectedness of all people, we stop seeing others as mere competitors or obstacles. We begin to see each other as the partners in the shared human experience. And that's where the real challenge happens.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about how we can build this spiritual capital. It is like the most important thing about every capital, you can still cultivate it, and we can cultivate the spiritual capital probably in this like global situation where the whole world is going crazy. This is the thing that you really need to do, you really need to focus on, because spiritual capital, it does not really require money or status or resources. It simply requires your intentions and mindfulness. So you need to think about it, you need to meditate, you need to reflect, you need to be grateful for everything, and you need to be grateful to everyone for everything happening in the world, everything happening on campus. These are just several ways how we can nurture our spiritual capital. Some of our most profound and memorable moments of connection do not happen in formal meetings. And sometimes they do not even happen in the classroom, but they happen when we share a small, quiet, and peaceful moments. Like, for instance, when you're given a compliment, sharing a meal, offering a kind word, or listening to someone really deeply. And these moments help us to build our spiritual capital. We're constantly bombarded and shared with different news and messages, and sometimes we much more prioritize the external success, the external well-being. And this is where you need to rely on spiritual capital, because it helps us to reconnect with things that truly matters, and the thing that we cannot touch but we can only feel, such as like kindness, um, truth, purpose, and love.
So true. In conclusion, cultural, social, and spiritual capitals are essential in creating rich and meaningful life for ourselves. Cultural capital gives us the stories, symbols, and knowledge that share and that show who we are. Social capital connects us to others and helps us to build trust and opportunity. But it's spiritual capital that holds it all together. It's the unseen thread that weaves through every interaction, every decision, and every challenge in life.
Even though both of our names are Annas, our journeys are still different, even though sometimes like we may find some similar moments. Yet we both came to realize that all three forms of capital have played a big role in shaping where we are now and shaping our personalities. And at every critical moment, every capital kept us grounded, but the most capital that affected us literally was spiritual capital.
Right. As we move forward, let's not just chase traditional measures of wealth and success. Let's nurture our spiritual capital as well. For it's the invisible wealth that sustains us, that connects us, and that empowers us to create a better world.
Thank you for being with us on this small TED Talk, and I hope that you now have a deeper understanding of what is cultural, social, and particularly spiritual capital. And now you will maybe more deeply understand how to use it and how to cultivate it in your lives.
Thank you for watching us. Bye!